Hey, what's up, fellas? This is Dr. Varun Gandhi. Thank you for tuning in to the Gandhi TV. Love and abundance to you. How are you guys doing today? Good. All right, so this episode, I'm going to talk about how we have lost our way and how do we find ourselves again. Where did we lose ourselves and how do we find ourselves again? So I think of life as a journey where we are walking a certain path and we have to come to certain decisions, crossroads, and at some point we have all veered off the wrong way. Especially if you're unhappy right now in your life with where you are. Especially if you're lost, searching for answers, seeking for truth. And especially if you realize that there's more to reality than just what you have been experienced to. If you're at these crossroads right now, you're going to want to hear this message. I'm going to point to you in the direction of where you need to be walking or where you should start walking from now. See, at some point through our lives, we have been taught to focus on our minds so much, right? You go through school, ever since you start your education, your focus is on knowledge, on stuffing more knowledge into our brain, and learning and learning and learning about everything outside of us and about our physical body and certain things inside of us, but we're not going deeper than that. We're not taught about the true us, the real person, the real us, and who we truly are. Society doesn't teach us that. Our education system doesn't teach us that. So now it's up to our parents to teach us that. And if they don't know and if they are lost as well, then you're shit out of luck, bro. You're going to be lost as well. And you're going to be seeking for answers. See, we have been focused on our minds and putting in knowledge into our minds and spitting it out a certain way. And we've been programmed to do this from very, very early on. So now our continuous focus is on knowledge in, knowledge out, and that's it. We learn things and we apply it to external realities, but we have not been taught to focus on ourselves. We have not been taught to focus on who the real person is, we're not even taught who we are. We have to figure that out for ourselves. And that's why you're at this crossroads. You've come to a point in your journey where you realize there's something off. Yes, there is something off. And I'm so glad you got there to this point. So ever since our birth, we've been trained to focus on our minds. Look, I was riding a train this morning, or this past weekend, going from Orange County to LA. And I was looking outside and I thought it's gonna be beautiful, we're gonna go through some nature. But instead, we went through industrial area. Just machinery, equipment, laying dead on the side. It was really sad to watch, to see them there. It was a sad sight. The weeds that were growing out of the cracks in the ground brought the beauty to that place. Imagine that. And you could see the machine being so sad, lower vibration, and you could see the branded corporation on its back or on its side. Yeah, it was It was heartbreaking. And that's what got to me. That's when I started thinking, that was my previous life. I would find all of that equipment just normal in my previous life. Because I used to work around it and I was so immune to it. But ever since I started connecting with something different, I realizing that there is more to life. I started seeing a different side of things. So while we were driving, or while we were riding that train, I got the thought that, holy crap, this is the left-brained, automatic process, system-oriented thinking, the mind level, you could even say the evil, because the evil comes from the mind level, right? But it's the mind that's created all of the equipment and the machinery that looks so sad on the side of the railroad track. It was all industry, it was all mechanical, it was all process. I realized, look at what we have done to nature. At one point, this used to be trees and greenery, but we've chopped all of that down to store our machinery. That's the mind taking over nature, taking over what's natural. That's the mind taking over the spirit. Mind taking over the soul. That's the mind taking over the heart. If you live your life from a place of your mind, you're going to be making a very processed, planned, methodical life, which doesn't seem organic, which doesn't seem natural, because it's so it's so mind focused. There is no love, there are no emotions that rise up, and only when the emotions only rise up when something outside of you triggers you. We're so focused on our minds that our feelings, our heart, has got pushed aside. That's the society we live in right now. And there are no role models, there's no one out there that tells you to focus on your heart, especially when we're growing up. Growing up, we're in school, college, it's all the mind level stuff. And only when you become unhappy, only when you realize that there is more to life than all of this mind level stuff, that's when you start exploring the heart and the beauty of the heart. The ability of the heart to see the beauty in the ugly. Just like that day when I was riding in the train and I saw the ugly, I saw the beauty in the weeds amongst the ugly in the machinery and equipment and the left-brained atmosphere. And society doesn't tell us even to focus on our hearts. Society is a distraction and telling us to go away, and it's always keeping us in our minds. We're constantly thinking, constantly fearful that something wrong is going to happen. And so we're planning for Armageddon. We're planning for that day when everything breaks loose and shit turns upside down. We're always in fear. The media puts us there too. It propagates all of these stories. It just focuses on the negative, as if there's nothing good happening in this world. You look at news right now, just watch it. If it's a 30-minute program, out of which, 8 minutes or 7 minutes are advertisements. And then the rest, 60, 70% is all negative. The rest 20% is positive. That's all they do. It's all propagation of fear. It's a mechanism to keep you in your minds. To realize society is completely against you. You always say that, you always complain, what will this person think? What will that person think? Think, mind level. So society is always against us. Then why are we looking to society for answers? all you really have to do is go into your heart. It sounds simple, but it's not easy. It took me a whole 5 years to reprogram myself and go into my heart naturally, as opposed to going into my mind. You look at any industry, you look at any, let's look at the creatives, the right brain creatives versus the industry who are exploiting these creatives, the musical artists who have to sign record labels with these big executives in industry, the left brain corporations. So these left brain corporations are sucking the juice out of the right side, the right brain, the creative, the entertainers, the stars, the actors, the actresses. You're sucking the juice out of the creative side and to fuel and power the left brain, the mind, which then again directly controls the heart to suck energy out of it to fuel the mind. And so now the mind is in power, the heart is pushed aside. Why does it always come to this? Why do we fall into this trap that our minds are the right way to go? We have to focus on our mind and protect our mind and be the best in our minds. But what about our heart? Competition is a level from the mind. Competition comes from the mind. If you're competing against someone outside of you, then that's the mind talking. That's the ego wanting to be better than someone else outside of you. That's the ego wanting to be better than someone else outside of you. And that someone else outside of you is actually a reflection of you. And I'll talk about that in a whole different episode. But at some point, we've been conditioned to focus on the wrong us. We've been taught that the mind is who we are, or we've been taught that the body is who we are. And that's what we gotta protect, and that's what we gotta culture and develop. Because through the mind and through the body is how you will earn your living, is how you will be successful, is how you will go out there and achieve things, through the mind and the body. They forgot to tell you that the heart has to provide you with the direction. The heart has to provide you with the mission. The mind can go implement it, but the heart has to be in control. Otherwise, the mind is going to go astray and look at what's happening in this world, where fences are being built around nature parks to keep them in and prevent them from flourishing, and to protect them, but also to get them out of our way so we can flourish. The mind, the left brain can flourish in society, and the nature, the creative, the creation is set aside. It's going on all over. Stock markets focus on the mind. Which company is doing better than the other based on how much they earn, based on certain statistics. But what about nature? Nature provides you with everything. You have corporations. Don't you realize that? You're exploiting nature so you can make money. So you can look good in front of your investors, mind level. So the mind has been running this show, and now it's up to you and me and all our brothers and sisters, the heart, the love, to show up and to regain control. If you are in tune with your heart, this message is going to resonate with you. I know that. This is going to want to You're going to want to step up. I know that. And that's what we have to do. The heart has to now have role models to show how we can live from our heart and love ourselves. We have lost touch with ourselves. We're not loving ourselves anymore. We don't even know what that means to love ourselves. And if we do it, we're doing it the wrong way, because then it turns out to be selfish, narcissistic, imbalanced, too much focused on yourself. You don't want that imbalance. But the attention, your attention, and where you put your attention to has to be on yourself first. You have to begin to love yourself, to get in tune with your heart and listen to it. Pay attention to what it's telling you. It's always sending us messages, but they're so subtle. They're actually not subtle. At one point, as when we were babies, we were our hearts. Don't you remember that? How many times have you repeated this phrase? I wish I could go back to those good old days when things were so much simpler. Those good old days refer to us living from our hearts. Things were so much simpler. We didn't need all these things to make us happy. We were in our hearts, and whatever was around us, we would just play around with it. We would make anything into a toy. You give us a set of keys. What are a set of keys to us right now as adults? Keys. To babies, they're toys. They laugh and play with those keys, at the sound of the keys. Whatever they find around us, they'll take a book, pick it up, and just play around with it, even though they don't know what it says. They're coming from the heart, and we have lost touch with our heart, with our inner child, with our inner hero, because we are so focused on our minds. We're so focused on our minds, we've gone down the wrong path, and we've entered darkness with no light in sight. Now your goal at this juncture is to start walking back. Start walking back down from your mind into your heart. Man's journey, or one's journey, keep it gender neutral, one's journey is to go from the head to the heart. That's your journey now. How do you get in tune back with your heart? How do you start loving yourself more? If all of us can find just one way, every day, one new way to love ourselves, in 1 year, this whole world will be different. Your whole world will be different. I guarantee you that. And if all of us do this, think about how much love we're going to be projecting, putting out there, just because we're loving ourselves. The signature that you emit, the electromagnetic signature that you emit, consists of what you're putting out there. Meaning, if you're putting out love inside of you, then you're going to put out love outside of you as well. That's your signature that you're going to be emitting. If love is inside of you, you're emitting a signature of love. If hate, negative, guilt, shame, all of these things are inside of you in your heart, then that's what you're going to be emitting. And because you're emitting a particular signature, whether it be a higher vibration or a lower vibration, you're attracting a particular experience, a particular circumstance that matches that vibration, that signature. So if you're putting out a lower vibration, you're going to attract circumstances that are of lower vibrations. Meaning, if you're putting out a signature of guilt, Now you're going to start finding yourselves to be in situations of guilt. You're attracting these situations just naturally because you have guilt inside of you. If it's betrayal, you're going to start attracting more opportunities of betrayal. And you have to recognize that you are creating the signature. You have control over transmitting a different signature. So you get a different result. That's where we mess up. When we emit a signature we don't want to emit, and we attract what we don't want. We should attract what we want, so emit a signature that we want. Love, if you want more love in your life, you got to start loving yourself. And you're going to attract that. Now, love is of so many different forms. And I'm writing an ebook about how we can love ourselves more. So watch out for that. But before you even get there, you, in your life, you can determine the different ways that you could start loving yourself. Even if it's you're spending 1 minute a day loving yourself, over time you're going to start increasing that time, right? I spend 30 minutes in meditation. That's 30 minutes that I'm loving myself. I spend 30 minutes repeating an affirmation. That's 30 minutes I'm loving myself. I eat healthy food throughout the day. That's more loving for myself. I go on walks, exercise. That's more loving for myself. I pray. I have an altar behind me. That's more loving for myself. I'm creating the sacred space in my office. That's more loving for myself. So every time I come into this space, I feel love. I feel energy. I feel vibrations that want to make me go out and do something good based on the foundations of love and self-love. So if all of us can just go back to the foundation, simplify things, and just begin to love yourself. Not through external material objects, not through going outside and finding other people to love or other mates to love. No. Going within and understanding who you are. And based on that, and based on understanding how right now you're currently hating yourself, you could flip that, transmute that hate into love. And when you flip it, you're attracting more love. When you attract more love, you're also releasing energy from inside of you. So you're going to become more, in essence, powerful. You're going to have more energy to go out and do more things of love. So think back to the good old days when you were a little child and start acting like a child. Start being curious about this world. Start being curious about yourself. You know, we've been taught to believe certain things because it's been taught to us in education or taught to us by society by repetition. And we're taught to believe these things, but we haven't questioned it or we're not curious about it. Is this really true? Is that natural? Or is that something that's just man-made, made up? You know how they say superstitions? What if every thought was a superstition until you checked it out? Until you verified it, you didn't accept it to be true. You could always have that question mark about things. Just be curious about it. Okay, is that really true? Even though you read it on a meme, even though you read it in an article, on a blog post, on Wikipedia, in a textbook, or in class, no matter where you read it, go back and check. Because just like there's processed food out there, your education can also be processed. The things that you believe can also be processed, manufactured, modified, manipulated. It's easy. You have to be curious like a child, like a baby. You have to be curious about this world as if you're learning about this world for the first time. If you're curious about it, now you can find out the real truth. Because all of us have been living from a state of our minds for so long, from a state of a particular perception for so long. Well, we have lost ourselves, our real selves. You know, occasionally we go on these trips where we lose ourselves, where we're completely free, where we start breathing away from real life. That's us connecting, reconnecting, finding our hearts, finding our souls, finding our spirit. You've let go of the mind during that trip. That trip is a no-mind trip. You were just in the present moment, loving and living this life, this moment, just as it were. That's coming from the heart. That's the love, without attachment, unconditional. Every moment you're just loving it, being a witness to it. You're not getting caught up in it. Because once you get caught up in any particular moment, then you get stuck in that moment. Let's say, for example, a friend comes up to you this moment and tells you something. It makes you feel a certain way, right? If he tells you something negative, then you're going to feel negative. If she tells you something positive, you're going to start feeling positive. You're going to be supported. You're going to feel strong, right? So just because they say a certain thing, it makes you feel a certain way. And you have the power to accept it or reject it. Right now we're accepting everything. We're not being curious about it. We're just accepting the thought for what it is. If it's a good thought, we're accepting it. If it's a bad thought, we're accepting it. It's making us feel a certain way. And because we're feeling a certain way, now we're starting to think a certain way. And now we're in the cycle of thinking and feeling, and it's just a downward spiral. That's why we need to go back and connect with our hearts. Be curious about everything that you hear. Oh yeah, is this true? Let me Google it. Let me search 3-4 different sources to see what they all say. What are these sources? Who are they? Are they manipulated? Are they pure? Is that the left brain? Is that the right brain? Is that someone talking from experience? Is that someone talking from research? What is it? Go back and look at everything. Because all of it is important. All of it has shaped your life in one way or another. Has formed a particular belief in your mind that you have held on to for so long. Beliefs can be limiting as well, meaning you're putting yourself in a box. You're saying, I'm only this person, where you could be infinite. You could be infinite possibilities, but you're saying, I'm only this person. You don't like a certain things because you believe in certain things about the things that you don't like, the things that you don't indulge in. So now you're limiting yourself in particular ways. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's meditation that you don't want to indulge in because you're afraid of what's going to happen. So now you're limiting yourself away from meditation, which is a really, really great self-love tool. So guys, the way back is to find our heart. Get in touch with our heart. Reconnect with our hearts. Because that's where you'll start feeling freer. That's where you'll start feeling the love, the openness, the vastness. You'll feel like the universe is inside of you. You'll feel the universe really is inside of you. That's how vast you could feel if only you connect with the vastness and the love of your heart. So what do you do to connect with your heart? How do you start doing that? Well, the one way would be love, to start loving. And what would that look like? Well, when you go into meditation, you just sit there and just bring your attention to your heart. And see what happens. Just focus there. Just try to connect with it. What does it tell you? So at this point, if you're so much into your mind, it's going to be hard to focus on your heart because your mind is going to be calling you. So initially what I would do, I would literally imagine an elevator going down from my mind to my heart. Right through the middle, through my throat, down here into my heart chakra, right here in the middle. At that point, then I'd get connected with my heart, but I had to imagine the real me, like a mini me, hopping into an elevator, going down, kind of into the basement, called the heart. We have shoved it down into the basement. Now we need to go down there and look at our old selves, look at the goodies that we have accumulated in our basement. Go back to our past and just clear things out. The basement. So connect with your heart. And sit there for as long as you want to, as long as time permits for you. Longer the better, of course. Just connecting with your heart. And just being in this moment, not thinking, not following your thoughts. If you have a thought, you're just letting it go, not going along with it. You just focus on your heart, the love in your heart. Do you feel that? If you don't just yet, keep trying, keep practicing. You're going to start connecting. Visualize yourself going down from your mind to your heart in your own way. I used the elevator because that was the mechanical way. You could be rock climbing if you wish. Swimming. However, you could do judo, karate on your way down and knocking all your, all the fears and all the different minds coming to you and all the thoughts coming to you, just knocking it out and escaping out of your mind matrix. So you do your own way. Do it for however long you can. 30 minutes would be best in the morning before you start your day. That way when you're connecting with your heart, now you could start living from your heart space as well. It might be easy and it'll be really quick to get into your minds. Probably when you're driving in your car, you're going to hit traffic, you're going to start cursing. That's your mind talking, your ego talking. That's how quick it is to get from our heart to our mind. Initially. Over time, as you keep connecting and reconnecting with your heart, that's going to be your natural space of coming from. You're just going to come from your love, from your heart space, and you're going to be loving. Now, if you imagine a coin, love is one side of the coin, awareness is the other. And being aware of your mind, the contents of your mind, and not being the thought, but just observing the thought, being a witness to it, as if you're watching a motion picture of all your thoughts that are going on in front of you. If you're just being aware of it, now you can start bringing love into that. But this awareness will lead to love. Whereas the top side of the coin, the other side of the coin is just love. You just love and you're there. Or you could be aware and then you'll get to love. Because once you're aware of your thoughts, you'll learn to disconnect from it. You'll learn to detach from it. And then you'll start connecting with your heart. And the more you connect with your heart, the more you're going to live from a heart space. The more you live from your heart space, all your foundations are going to be rooted in love. Your values, your principles are going to be rooted in love, service, self-love, of course, first and foremost. You're servicing yourself first, taking care of yourself first, making sure you spend enough time in the morning loving yourself before you go out there and provide service to the rest of the world. If you're seeking direction, go back. Connect with your heart, because that's where it's at. Connect with your heart and don't let your mind suck the juice out of the creative side again anymore. Connect with that creative side. Everything else will work itself out. Be the best you can. Become better every day. Every moment, become better than your previous day. That's competition. Be competitive against yourself, not against someone outside of you. Be competitive against your yesterday self, your yester moment self, your last moment self. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. That was a lot of fun. That was pure channeling. There was no preparation. I just knew what I wanted to talk, and this was the message, and everything just came out of me. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to be here, man. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's love and abundance as always. Check me out on drvarungandhi.com on my website, or you could search on all social media, Dr. Varun Gandhi. And of course, if you like this, please subscribe, comment, like, share, whatever, whichever, all of them. It's all appreciated, and it's all about love. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you for being here every day, and thank you for listening to me talk. I got valuable stuff to share, I think. Anyways, love and abundance, guys. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to the Gandhi TV.